He asks him which monarch does he truly serve. Falling to his knees, Ian reveals that he serves the 5th Prince, Ragnar Greenriver, the person who will rise to the top of this empire. A sinister look appears on the prince's face. His plan actually worked, and he now has a 6th-class magician as his very own servant. Sometime later, Haydn is sitting in his room in deep thought, still worried about his father and everything that has happened as of late. His butler enters, informing him that there is an assembly taking place this afternoon and that he should prepare for it. Haydn holds his head. He's heard that this assembly is one that Ian called for specifically as the Tower Master. He doesn't want Ian to see him in his current state. It has been a long time since they last spoke. He asks his butler to please help him get ready and dressed up today. He doesn't want Ian to see him in a mess. Everyone is gathering in the palace for this assembly and are talking amongst themselves. This is the first assembly that the Ivory Tower Master has ever called for, and for some reason he's asked that both Prince Haydn and Prince Ragnar attend. Everyone assumes he is going to be talking about the elephant in the room. Which of the two of them will ascend the throne? Though Ian has been supporting Prince Haydn this whole time, rumors have begun to circulate around. Apparently Ian met with Prince Ragnar secretly in his room. There's a chance he may have had a change of heart. Prince Haydn bursts through the door, looking a lot cleaner than he did earlier. He immediately approaches Ian. It's been a long time and he hopes he is doing well. Haydn extends his arm out. He's missed his friend, and if it's okay with Ian, he would like to meet with him after the assembly. Ian abruptly slaps his hand away, shocking the prince. There are other things he has to attend to after the assembly, so he won't be able to. Ian seems to be acting unusual. Haydn awkwardly scratches his neck. Perhaps they could meet up after he is done with whatever he has to do then. Ian just walks away to enter the main hall though, leaving Haydn standing all alone, wondering what on earth is going on. Ian begins his speech to the assembly that has gathered. He thanks all the respected members of the Elder Council and the nobles for coming, as they are aware the Empire has experienced a great tragedy. Due to the assassination attempt on the Emperor, he has barely been able to regain consciousness even after 15 days. Even if he does recover, there is no guarantee that he will be able to perform his duties like he used to. The time has come to make a choice, and everyone in the room knows it. The pillar of the Empire has fallen and it is in a critical state. The enemies at the borders are now looking down at them. When the Empire's future is in such an unstable state, they need to be able to look calmly at the reality and make a choice, to choose who should be the rightful ruler of the Empire. Just looking good on the outside won't be what will save the Empire. What is needed is a leader who can bring them out of this crisis and bring back stability. Someone who is able to ease the political situation between the three empires, and someone who is able to make the Green River Empire the greatest empire in history. That's the person who should be allowed to wear the crown. Which is why Ian Page, the Ivory Tower Master, has arranged this assembly to declare that he is supporting the great Emperor's own blood, the 5th Prince Ragnar. The assembly bursts into an uproar. Everyone whispers amongst themselves and gasps. Yet Ragnar sits calmly with his arms crossed and a smile on his face. Prince Haydn rises from his seat, yelling at Ian for betraying him. The nobles try to get him to calm down, but he doesn't. He aggressively grabs a hold of Ian. How could he do this to him? He gets so angry that he strikes our protagonist with a well-deserved punch right to the cheek. Ian falls to the floor with a bruised face. His expression is emotionless and he seems unbothered, whereas Haydn is shaking from anger. His fists are clenched tightly and he is being dragged out of the assembly by the nobles. He thought they were supposed to be friends. That night Prince Haydn is in his room alone, laying on his bed and staring at the ceiling, still unable to believe what happened earlier today. A shadowy figure appears at his window. It's the Sword Lord Oliver. Haydn is surprised to see him here. He is supposed to be at his home under investigation. Oliver pushes past the prince and enters his room. There's no time to explain. He orders the prince to dress warmly as they will be leaving right away. There is a path behind the palace that they can take without surveillance. It's a secret pathway used only for emergencies. Oliver approaches Haydn and wraps him in a blue robe. All the knights of the second palace are on standby outside. Haydn doesn't know what to say. Oliver gets on his knee and holds out his hand, expressing that it is important that they leave the palace tonight. Haydn takes a moment to think about it. He trusts Oliver with his life and is willing to do what he says. He takes the Sword Lord's hand and the two prepare to escape. Wearing cloaks, they begin walking through the night, hidden by the dense greenery of the forests. They meet with the second Imperial Knights who have been waiting patiently, all wearing their own cloaks. They all rush over to the prince, giving him a hug. They have missed him so much. Haydn asks for an explanation of what's happening. Why is everyone gathered here and how did they get away? The Imperial Palace and the capital is no longer safe. That's why from now on Oliver and the 2nd Division Imperial Knights are going to take care of Haydn. The plan is to take him to Lord Kalyan in the Pyrrhic estate. Oliver will tell him more details on the way, but for now they must leave. Prince Haydn stops them. They can't go around disobeying orders like this. It could end up with their titles being deprived or even execution for treason. The knights are not disobeying orders though. Oliver informs the prince that when they became knights they were given only one order, to protect Prince Haydn no matter what. No matter how strong the enemy is, their mission remains the same. They are going to fight, and they are going to protect him. Haydn can barely contain himself at this show of affection and loyalty. Despite being denied the throne, his guards still stand by his side. He agrees to leave the capital with them, just as long as Oliver explains to him what is happening properly while they travel. That night he disappears, and it doesn't take long for everyone else to realize. Damphel rushes into Ragnar's room. Prince Haydn disappeared at dawn, and so did the 2nd Division Imperial Knights. They were armed. According to witnesses, they are heading east, and a group has been sent to chase after them. Damphel is planning to send even more troops later. Ragnar tells him to forget about it. There's no need to send more troops. If they are heading east, then they are heading to the Pyrrhic estate. The path to the Pyrrhic estate is rough and is infested with monsters, so going after them won't be easy. They have Oliver and a bunch of elite knights with them, so they should be fine. Chasing after them will only lead to the Empire losing valuable soldiers. Prince Haydn isn't the priority right now. What's important is locating the whereabouts of Ian's mother, Vanessa. Ragnar looks over to our protagonist who is in the room with them. That cunning magician. He hid his mother in case of black magic, and he's not opening his mouth about where he hid her. It seems like he erased all his memories. Ian remains silent and looks at the floor. Damphel respectfully asks why he is even bothering to search for Vanessa. Surely she isn't important. Ragnar explains that our protagonist's weakness is his mother. It's weird that Ian came to him willingly, likely knowing he would end up infected by black magic. Ragnar doesn't like the situation and thinks that Ian has something planned. If they can find Ian's mother, it will give them an advantage in the future if something happens. Damphel understands and lowers his head with his hand on heart before leaving the room. Ragnar is left alone alongside Ian. Everything is going so smoothly that he is starting to feel anxious. He looks over to our protagonist, who is now just an obedient puppet. Ragnar wonders what he could be planning. There's no way he would just let something like this happen without preparations. A few days later, Prince Haydn and Oliver arrive at the Pyrrhic estate. They are greeted by Lord Kalyan, the redhead with a scar on his cheek. He's honored to have the prince in his territory. He was actually quite shocked when he got Ian's letter informing him of everything that has been happening. He wishes the Emperor Terry a speedy recovery, and as Ian requested, the Pyrrhic family of the East will take care of Prince Haydn. He asks that Haydn makes himself comfortable here and then walks away with his commander by his side. Haydn is impressed by Kalyan. He seems like a good person with a manly side and an open-minded personality. The commander also seemed nice. The commander is actually Oliver's distant cousin. He taught him swordsmanship when he was younger. The prince smiles, seeing that our protagonist really calculated and planned all of this to happen. He starts to wonder if Ian is even infected by black magic at all, though he is still upset that his throne was taken from him. Ragnar has always been better than Haydn at everything since they were younger. Although it's frustrating, it's the truth. There's a possibility that Ian is really on his side. Oliver assures Haydn that that is nonsense. Ian would never choose Ragnar over him willingly. In fact, Oliver remembers many years ago when he spoke to Ian on the balcony of an event. He said with his own words that he would never support Prince Ragnar. There is nothing to worry about, and Haydn should just trust Ian. He definitely has a plan. We get a flashback to the night that Paul died, when Oliver and Ian were talking amongst each other. Ian informed Oliver that he was going to visit Ragnar's room, and that he would most likely be infected with black magic. Oliver tried to warn him that it would be too dangerous, but Ian didn't care. He knew that Ragnar wouldn't kill him straight away, and would most likely use his status as the Ivory Tower Master to get to the throne. Ian wasn't thrilled about being under the control of Ragnar. However, he knew that if he did, then he would be able to get insider information about his plans. This is where he asked Oliver to take Haydn over to the Pyrrhic estate. Although dangerous, Oliver knew this was a good plan. But if Ian was going to get himself infected by black magic, then they would need someone to free him. There is no one in the palace that they can trust anymore. Ian smiled. There is one person who can free him. A person who not even Ragnar would expect. A strong comrade that they can rely on. The scene cuts to Princess Harry back in the present. She is sitting beside her father, who is unconscious laying in bed. Despite this, she still tells him everything that has been going on while he has been away from the throne. Ian made a statement that he supports Prince Ragnar and Haydn has fled from the palace. Soon Ragnar will have the crown for himself and she doesn't know what to do. Harry begins crying at her father's side. She feels like there is no one who she can trust anymore. She can't believe Ian would betray her and her brother like that. All the gentle sides of himself that he showed her were all lies. Even still, a part of her heart wants to trust him and it aches so much. She begs for her father to please wake up. She doesn't know what to do. A knock can be heard at the door. It's the magician Kevin. Princess Harry dries her eyes. He can enter now. Kevin seems nervous and checks his surroundings carefully. Harry wonders what is going on. The magician pulls a box out of his robe, asking the princess to take it. A few days ago the Tower Master ordered him to safeguard it. He told Kevin to hand it over to the princess. Harry grabs a hold of the box. Did Ian really want to give this to her? Kevin urges her to stay quiet. No one must know that he has given it to her. Kevin leaves the room and Princess Harry stands with the box in hand. She looks down at it. What could it be? And why would Ian give it to her so secretively? Harry sits down at a nearby table and takes a look inside. Inside is the necklace, pink elixir, and a paper letter. First she takes out the letter and begins to read it. It states, "Your Highness, I know you must have been very surprised. If you are reading this then I will have already become a different person through black magic. The reason I'm writing this letter is to ask Her Highness for help. The Emperor's poisoning case was not done voluntarily by the Vice Captain Paul. It was sorcery done through black magic. The culprits of this incident are a secret organization called the Order of the Dragon. Within the organization is a very powerful high-ranking black magician. Prince Ragnar has been cooperating with them to try and take over the throne. I wish to find the real culprit who tried to assassinate the Emperor and uncover the truth. I will become the puppet of Prince Ragnar. The necklace inside this box is an item left by the deceased Empress. It contains an anti-magic even greater than 8th class, something that can even dispel black magic. If you are reading this letter, please put this necklace on me. The anti-magic inside this necklace should dispel the black magic. The liquid packed with it is a potion made out of a special herb called Randier's flower. It has an effect of neutralizing mana inside the body and is also a critical poison that can cause a magician's death. If by chance the black magic can't be dispelled by the necklace, please kill me." Harry looks at the potion and necklace, finally realizing what is going on. She immediately goes to find Ian, who is by Ragnar's side. They are on their way to visit the Emperor. After all, he is Ragnar's father too. It's only right that he does his duty as a son. Harry agrees, asking Ragnar if it's okay if she speaks with Ian while he is visiting the Emperor. It's okay, as long as Ian comes right back to him after they have finished talking. Ragnar walks away and leaves the two of them. Harry takes our protagonist into a nearby room and closes the door to give them some privacy. She slowly approaches Ian, being extremely vague. She has the item that he gifted to her and she would like to return it. If he can just lower his head for a moment. Ian does as the princess says and she places the necklace over his neck, hoping that it will work. For a moment there is a pause, until the necklace activates and glows blue. Ian falls onto his knees and the black magic is forced out of his body. It's a painful process though, causing him to even cough up some blood. Eventually the pain begins to calm down and Ian regains his breath. The princess leans in while shaking, wondering if he is okay. Our protagonist looks up while clutching his chest. It seems like the necklace worked and he is back to his old self again. Tears stream down Harry's face and she pounces forward, hugging him tightly. How could he do something so dangerous and foolish? Ian is just happy that the princess trusted him and came to save him. If he's being honest, he was only half sure whether the magic in the necklace would work or not. Harry yells at him. The magic wasn't even properly confirmed, yet he still risked his life like that. Our protagonist just smiles subtly. Taking risks like that are often the types of things that lead to miracles. Stabbing himself with the time dagger in his previous life was a huge risk, yet it paid off and now he has this wonderful second chance. He dries Princess Harry's eyes, thanking her for believing in him. She is just happy that he is back. There is so much she wants to ask, like what did he find out while by Ragnar's side? It turns out the Dragon's Order is a bigger force than Ian had first imagined. The previous Ivory Tower Master, Herbert, was an executive for the Order, and a bunch of high nobles were high-ranking members. Damphil, who has served the Emperor for decades, is also part of the conspiracy. The religious leader of the Dragon Order is said to be a Dragonian, which were believed to have gone extinct 300 years ago. He can change into human form and can use 8th class magic. He was sealed in a prison until Ragnar released him, and the two of them have been working together. This information shocks Harry, who can't believe her brother would do such a dangerous and reckless thing. Ian assumes that it must be something he has been planning for a long time. The Dragon Order's ultimate goal isn't just taking the throne. They wish to start a war with the Empire's armed forces to conquer the lands. Ragnar has already taken over the royal palace. It's not safe here anymore, and Ian advises the princess to be careful. She shouldn't trust anyone and should stay by the Emperor's side. As for Ian, he is going to continue the act of being infected by black magic so that he can stay by Ragnar's side. 300 years ago, Mikhail Greenriver managed to get rid of the Dragonians, and Ian plans on finding out what method he used to do this. The princess thinks for a moment. There is something she has that might help. She asks that Ian follow her. They go to the princess's room, where she goes up to her desk and finds something. It's a red book with a golden seal, a treasure of the royal family that her father gifted her. It's a relic that was left behind by the first magician of the royal family, Mikhail Greenriver. It's assumed to be his journal, though no one is sure as they haven't been able to open its seal. According to records, Mikhail was a 5th-class magician. However, the seal seems to be made with a magic of a higher class. Ian takes the book, thinking that perhaps he will be able to get it open. He injects it with mana to try and read its techniques. That's when he sees that for some reason the book is sealed with a dragon tongue spell. Ian mutters the spell that appears and the book opens. Our protagonist seems worried, but Harry is curious to see what's inside. It really is Mitchell's journal. The first entry was written right after the war with the Dragonians ended. It's about the memorial for the deceased magicians and knights of the Empire, and plans to leave the destroyed lands to build a new ivory tower. Ian spots something particularly unusual. His father's name, Fran, is written inside the book. Curious, Ian reads the next few lines word for word. It states, "That night, Fran came to find me. I knew from a feeling that I would not be able to see him anymore. I swore to keep the promise I made with him until my death. I leave in this journal his last words in dragon tongue." Upon saying the dragon tongue words written in the journal, Ian's surroundings begin to change. All the color has been zapped from the world, leaving it a monotone black and white. Everything is statuesque, including the princess, who is no longer moving. The look of worry that has been on Ian's face this whole time grows stronger. It seems like time has completely stopped. On the other side of the room is a door with a golden glow shining from it. With few other options, our protagonist decides to walk through it. On the other side of the door is an open field with a singular rock. Upon the rock is sitting a cloaked man. Ian calls out to him and he slowly turns around. His features are hidden, but there are hints of blonde hair and facial stubble. Our protagonist asks this mysterious person, "Where is this place, and who are you?" This place is the record of time, a place beyond dimensions. It's hard to explain it in human terms, but the man tries to put it simply. This place preserves all the time from the dimension Ian is from. As for his identity, the man goes by different names. The humans either call him the First Magician or the Golden Dragon. Ian is shocked at this information. The Golden Dragon that exists only in legends, and the First Magician recorded in history is the one who developed magic. They are both the same person. Since Ian has found this place, the man knows that Mikhail must have made a grave mistake. He didn't think that he would let that Dragonian Avantis live. The man didn't understand why Mikhail kept him sealed in Ian's dimension. Perhaps it was sympathy or vengeance. Human emotions are incredibly complicated yet detailed. This man and Mikhail Greenriver were very close. In fact, he was the one who gave Mikhail the power to exterminate the dragons. All of this is a lot for Ian to take in. If it is true, then why isn't the man in any of the war records? The First Magician and Golden Dragon begins explaining. A long time ago, humans suffered from black magic. The power of the dragon was a power that could be used to conquer all things. However, an unholy power was created by adapting it, and thus black magic was born. The black magic created by the Dragonians was as greedy as its origins. It corrupted the human soul and destroyed the balance of the world. As a result, disaster was repeated constantly, and the Golden Dragon witnessed countless humans suffering. Yet he was unable to interfere. Dragons don't intervene in the human world. This is a rule that has existed from the time this world was created. The Golden Dragon didn't want to stay put though. After all, black magic originated from the power of the dragon. So he broke the rules and meddled with human history. When a big disaster comes, humans fall, and they need a hero to lift them back up. So to fight against black magic, the Golden Dragon shared his powers with Mikhail Greenriver. He was a wise and compassionate kid, even with him being royalty. He was a child who always put the people first over authority. Mikhail spent his whole life trying to get rid of black magic. However, leaving Avantis alive was a single mistake that has made all his efforts go to vain. As for the Golden Dragon, he lost his memories as a price of intervening with the human world. And so the dragon sealed all the time he had left in the body of a human. With no memories of anything, he went around the world to wherever his feet took him to. That was when he met a girl too. She was an honest and lovely person, and the time they spent together was the most beautiful the dragon had experienced in a long time. Her name was Vanessa. The golden dragon removes his hood and shows his face. Looking at Ian, he says he has missed him. He has missed his son. Ian grits his teeth and shakes, demanding that this guy not speak nonsense. His father died a long time ago. The man agrees. His father, Fran Page, is in fact dead. He is just the soul that left his body and has been waiting in this place, waiting to meet Ian. Our protagonist snaps. If he is really the soul of Fran, then why did he leave him as a child? Does he know how much heartbreak he caused? The golden dragon is ashamed. The more time he spent in his human body, the more his memories started to return. He realized that he needed to get rid of the black magic that was plaguing the world. It was the only way to protect his wife Vanessa and son Ian. The time he had as a human was too short, so it was inevitable for him to leave his family. The golden dragon is sad to hear that his son is having a hard time in this life, and hopes that he can find happiness. Ian doesn't know what to say. He didn't come here for a father-son reunion. The golden dragon knows this already. The reason he is here is to find a power that can help him get rid of the Dragonian Avantis. The power Ian is looking for is already inside of him. The golden dragon left that power behind when he abandoned the family. That's why Ian is able to read and understand the dragon language. It's not because he is a high-ranking magician, but because of the power of his father, the golden dragon. The golden dragon approaches Ian with his arms stretched out. He will awaken the power inside of him. However, first he wants to take a look at Ian's soul. The life that Ian really wants, which even Ian himself isn't aware of. Suddenly, Ian wakes up leaning against a tree wearing formal clothing. He stands up confused and takes the blanket off of him. He was with Fran just a moment ago. Where could he be now? In front of him is a blonde woman and a young child playing in the grass. It's a sunny day and the flowers are in bloom. The woman is Princess Harry and she is happy that Ian is finally awake. Seriously, they barely made time to go and have fun together as a family and he is taking a nap. Harry scolds Ian for being too busy recently. She's going to speak to her brother to get him to stop overworking him. Ian has no idea what's going on. He addresses Harry as Your Highness, confused about this whole situation. Harry bursts out into laughter, assuming that Ian must still be half asleep. He hasn't called her that in a long time. She calls out to the little girl in the field playing. Daddy is awake and she should come over and hug him. The girl turns around with big blue eyes and a bright smile. Her name is Johanna. Ian stands perfectly still like a statue while Johanna runs up to him and wraps her arms around his legs tightly. Harry looks at our protagonist, asking why he is just standing there. She encourages him to hug his daughter. Ian looks down at the girl who is looking back at him. He picks her up and takes a moment to try and process things. At first he is just thinking about how weird this is, until the little girl gently utters the words, Papa. This causes Ian's eyes to water and he squeezes his daughter a little tighter. It's a beautiful life. He has a daughter and a loving wife. The spring sun shines down on them and the air is rife with peace. All of a sudden the child vanishes from his arms and he finds himself back in the place where he was originally. Fran asks Ian what he saw in his vision. There was a small girl with the same hair color and eye color as his. Her name was Johanna. That small girl's weight, temperature, voice, and smell when Ian hugged her. It made him feel warm inside. Just what was that? His father explains that this is love, an incredibly simple word, and yet a strong power that motivates humans. They dedicate themselves for the ones they love and fight to protect them. This gives them the courage to live on. It seems like what Ian wishes for the most is just a normal life. Ian thinks about what he saw. It was too peaceful and beautiful for someone to dream of. Is what he saw the future? Fran tells him that it may or may not be. It all depends on the choices Ian makes. It seems like it is time for our protagonist to go back to the real world. Fran approaches his son and places his hand on his head. He's going to awaken the dragon's authority that resides inside of Ian. With this power, he asks that Ian put an end to what he couldn't finish himself. After this power has been awakened, all of Fran's memories appear inside of Ian's head. He looks at his son as he says goodbye. He has always been with him and will love him forever. Ian sees a specific memory of Fran's. When Vanessa was pregnant with Ian and the two were deeply in love. This is the last thing he sees until he is teleported back to the present in the real world. Standing next to Princess Harry reading from the journal. He clutches his chest and tears build up in his eyes. His heart is aching. It's a feeling he has never felt before. When the princess asks him what's wrong, Ian pulls himself together. He is fine and has just got something in his eye. He looks back down at the journal and notices that all the dragon language that was written on there previously has disappeared. He turns to Harry, asking her if she remembers what was written there. But she doesn't know what he's talking about. That page has always been blank. Ian stares in deep thought for a moment until the silence is broken by the princess, asking if he found a method to defeat the dragon. Ian. When Ian says that he did, the princess grabs a hold of his hand in excitement. That's great news. Ian awkwardly blushes and struggles to maintain eye contact. It's time that he finally ends his battle with Ragnar. He asks that the princess stay by the emperor's side. Harry looks at him. Is there nothing she can help with? Ian assures her he is going to be fine. He's going to put an end to everything and return. She still hasn't let go of his hand even though Ian is trying to leave. She wants him to promise that he will return. He will, no matter what. The scene cuts to a lengthy flashback of Ian's previous life. He has been fighting wars alongside the Emperor Ragnar for too long and he has decided to leave. A high-class magician named Ronan tries to convince him to stay. Even if the three empires unite after the war, the fighting won't ever stop. The Green River Empire needs its 8th-class magician. Ronan isn't just going to let Ian throw everything away. And there is no way Emperor Ragnar will let him just leave. Ian turns around. Even if Ragnar doesn't approve of it, he is still going to leave. He has finished all of his preparations and Ronan is more than capable of taking over as the new Ivory Tower Master. Ian no longer sees himself as a respected 8th-class magician, but instead he is just a monster. He walks away, heading towards the throne room to see Ragnar, leaving Ronan alone. After reading the letter Ian sent, Ragnar isn't happy. Why is he leaving so suddenly? After they have fought so many wars together and been by each other's side for years. Ragnar understands if he needs some rest, he can allow Ian to go away for a few months or even years. However, he asks that our protagonist return to the Empire at some point in the future. Ian falls to his knees. He won't be returning no matter what and is leaving for good. His existence is no longer of any help to the continent's future. He wants to return to his hometown and separate himself from magic. This way he can repent for all the wrongdoings he has done. Ragnar angrily rises. He won't allow such a thing. Repenting is something that only a loser does. Ian has contributed more than anyone to this empire, and should be proud of his actions. He tells him to just forget about such trivial things. Ian can't forget though, all the lives he took and all the blood that was shed by his own hands. He can't bear to even look at himself anymore. He has become a monster. Ian begs on his knees, asking Ragnar is not only his emperor, but is a long-time friend. Please allow me to go and live the rest of my days in peace. Ragnar can't believe that after all this time he is just going to leave because he feels guilty. He walks away, leaving Ian alone. He had no idea their friendship would end like this. Ian just cries. He is sorry, but this is the way it has to be. When the nobles heard of Ian's departure, they were not happy. The Coldwood Empire is still acting up, and if word gets out Ian has left, they will appear weak. There is also a possibility that Ian will join hands with the rebel forces. If that happens, the Green River Empire will surely fall. The nobles put a lot of pressure on Emperor Ragnar to kill his friend Ian. He's too dangerous, and if he doesn't want to fight for the Empire anymore, then he should be taken out. This pressure caused Ragnar a lot of stress, to the point where he could no longer sleep. Not only was he the emperor currently at war, but the nobles were all planting seeds of doubt in his mind of Ian's loyalty. He called his personal alchemist to his bed chambers, Douglas. He still can't sleep and it's getting worse. He needs stronger medicine. Douglas informs him that the medicine he is taking has addictive side effects. If he takes any more, it could harm his health. If the emperor really wants to sleep again, then he should deal with the source of his problem. Ragnar laughs at the ridiculousness of that. This isn't something he can just solve. He's scared that his friend will leave him and that he will betray the Empire. He can trust Ian when he's by his side, but now that he is leaving, he just seems like a dangerous monster. This is when Douglas suggests that Ragnar kill Ian. If he is truly a monster, then he should be put down. Ragnar looks at his alchemist with serious eyes. Is he really suggesting he kills his longtime friend? Douglas knows how this sounds, but if Ian is causing his highness to feel so uneasy, can he even be called a friend? Ragnar holds his pounding head. Ian is an 8th-class magician. There isn't any way to kill him. Even if all the magicians at the Ivory Tower worked together, they would fail. Douglas speaks up. He knows how to make a potion that can poison Ian. All the Emperor needs to do is say the word. Many nights later, Emperor Ragnar decided to pay Ian a visit at his cabin. The fire is crackling and Ian is peacefully reading a book when someone knocks at his door. He is surprised to see Ragnar all the way out here at an hour like this. It's been a while since they last met. Even if Ian has stepped down and left, it's normal for Ragnar to want to visit a friend. He looks at Ian with a smile on his face while holding a bottle of wine in his hands. May he come in so they can catch up. Ian gestures inside. His good friend is always welcome here. He is surprised that Ragnar bought wine. He He's not usually the type of person to drink. Ragnar admits that's true, although it's not bad to have a drink occasionally. He suddenly got curious about his friend and wanted to see how he was doing. He holds out a glass of wine for Ian to take. Ian accepts and the two sit opposite each other. The Emperor comments on how much happier Ian seems since he has left the capital. Ian has been traveling a lot, going wherever his feet takes him. During this time he saw the lives of many people and it was a really meaningful time. He's learned many things since returning to his hometown. Unfortunately, there isn't much he is good at other than magic. He's thinking of gardening once winter has passed and the snow melts. The current life of the former Tower Master seems to be a simple one. As long as Ian is happy, Ragnar is satisfied. A lot of things have happened since his departure. Ragnar explains that they have suppressed the rebellion in the Coldwood Empire, and they are now a step closer to peace. One of the princes will also marry the daughter of Count Bernard, a member of the royal family of the Principality of Ro. With all of this, the three empires will be one step closer to becoming whole. Ian clutches his chest. Something strange is happening to his body after drinking the wine. He collapses to the floor in pain, but Ragnar doesn't stop speaking. The ivory tower has been doing worse since Ian left. However, the palace is helping out to keep it going. Areas that have been damaged from the war are being repaired quickly and soon peace will be achieved. Ragnar looks down at our protagonist who is dying on the floor. All that is left is for Ian to disappear. Ian coughs up blood, keeled over in pain. It's a poison that neutralizes the mana inside a magician's blood vessels. Just to be sure it would work, Ragnar mixed it with some other potions. Ian only has one question: why? Why would his friend betray him like this? Ragnar admits that it is because of Ian's power. If it was wartime it would be different, but right now his power only brings unease to everyone in the Empire. If he had stayed by Ragnar's side, then none of this would have happened, but he just had to leave. Not only is the Empire fearful of Ian's powers, Ragnar reluctantly reveals that he is too. He's afraid of his own friend, a powerful 8th class magician who could steal the entire Empire from Ragnar at any time. There's no way that he could let such a monster live. It would be too risky. Ian tears up at this betrayal. This is really how his life is going to end. Before exiting the cabin, Ragnar looks at his old friend and tells him one last thing. Please don't forgive me. He leaves, telling his knights to light the cabin on fire on his way out. It doesn't take long for it to become engulfed in roaring flames with Ian still inside. The peaceful snowy cabin becomes a burning graveyard for the duo's friendship. The knights urge Ragnar to head back to the carriage. They will take care of everything else here. However, Ragnar takes a moment to look back at the scene. He tries to maintain his composure in front of the knights, but tears stream down his face. Although he felt like this was something necessary to do, it still hurt. He walks away from the fire assuming his friend is dead. Little did he know Ian reincarnated himself with a magical dagger, allowing him to travel back into the past and get his revenge. He's going to come to regret those words. Please don't forgive me. The scene cuts back to Ian's new life in the present, where he is a 6th class magician. He returns to Ragnar's side, still pretending to be under the influence of black magic. Ragnar is glad that he is finally here, wanting to know what Princess Harry was talking to him about. Ian still acts like a puppet, saying Harry was just asking why he betrayed Prince Haydn. He didn't answer her question and just left. Ragnar finds this amusing and laughs. His sister is such a poor thing, she actually has a crush on Ian. Ragnar remembers how his father rejected all the nobles that wanted to propose to her. He always found this unusual. For royals, marriage is basically a transaction for the sake of more political power. For the emperor to just hide the princess away is ridiculous. When the time is right, Ragnar intends to marry her to the right family, and he is going to find a suitable wife for Ian too. It shouldn't be long. He'll ascend to the throne in no time and become stronger than his father. He vows to become the first person to unite the 3 empires and lead the Green River Empire to its maximum potential. He places his hands on Ian's shoulders, happy that Ian is going to be by his side to witness all of this. Looking Ragnar in his eyes, Ian tells him he has already seen all of this. In his past life, he witnessed the empire becoming unified and stood by the side of the great emperor. He gave up everything he had and dedicated his whole life to Ragnar and the empire. However, in this new life, he has discovered the type of life that he truly wants to live. A peaceful one with a family. Ragnar stumbles backwards, surprised that Ian has managed to break free from the black magic. That's the only explanation for him spouting such craziness. With a look of blissful sorrow, Ian confirms it. And what he is about to say next will cause him great despair. But he asks that Ragnar, his friend and lord who trusted him the most and showed him the greatest honor, and also the greatest despair. He falls to his knees and asks that Ragnar come and find him. He will be waiting at the old ivory tower and they can continue this discussion. He vanishes from the room in a flash of light, leaving Ragnar all alone. He was right. Ian has been planning something all this time, and it could ruin his chances of becoming emperor. He barges out of his room, startling his servants outside who want to know what's wrong. He demands that the captain of the first Imperial Knights be summoned immediately. They need to gather the Knight Order and prepare the fastest horses they have. And someone needs to find out where Evantus is right now. Ian is at the old ivory tower site, sitting amongst the ruins while a gentle snow falls down. When he found this place in his previous life, he thought it was by coincidence. But it must have been his father who has been watching him all this time. He must have brought him here to give him a second chance. The Dragon Tongue spell book he found here that allowed him to be reincarnated. It's all because of his father. Ian understands now. He also understands what he must do with his newly awakened dragon authority. Out of the distance emerges Ragnar along with a bunch of Imperial Knights on horseback. Ian rises and welcomes them. It's time for this to be settled. Ragnar turns to Evantus, asking that he kills Ian this time round. Evantus sighs. He should have just killed him to begin with and they wouldn't be in this mess. He's just a brat who's only 6th class. Evantus is going to end this in an instant. However, there seems to be another problem other than Ian. Evantus can sense the gold dragon, or at least the gold dragon's authority. They must be nearby. The scene of the battle is set. Ian's cape blows in the wind while Ragnar and Evantus look towards him. A somber tension fills the air for a brief moment, until Ian begins to approach, once again welcoming them and waiting for a reply. Ragnar snaps. Ian is wrong to think Prince Haydn would be a better emperor. What the Empire needs is a rational leader with strong power. Haydn is unqualified and is only in the position he is in due to their father's love. Ragnar refuses to acknowledge him. He himself is the one who is qualified. He is the one who needs to become emperor. Remaining calm, Ian explains that black magic corrupts the souls of humans, and Ragnar is no exception. It's clear he has lost the cool judgment he once had and is now showing his true colors. Ian can spout all the nonsense that he wants, but today will be the last day that mouth of his will speak. Ragnar signals to the Dragonian to get down to business. With his hands behind his back, Evantus launches an attack towards our protagonist. A thick black mass hurtles forward. It rips up the entire ground, creating a line of destruction to where Ian was standing. Dust and debris clouds the air. Evantus had heard Ian was an intelligent human, but he guesses that must have not been true. To think he would die so easily. The air clears though and Ian stands tall. The small area around him has been completely unaffected by the attack, almost like he has created a force field. A look of befuddlement appears on Evantus's face. How did he do that? He follows it up quick with a flame strike, lighting the area up like napalm. Yet the flames don't pierce through Ian's force field. This should be impossible. Evantus tries again by shooting ice crystals from the sky. Ian is definitely a lower class magician than him. No matter how exceptional of a human he is, he shouldn't be able to compete against a Dragonian who has lived for more than 5 centuries. The look of befuddlement turns to worry. Why are none of Evantus's attacks working? That's not all. The energy that Evantus has felt from the moment he arrived here. The gold dragon's authority. It's clear that that energy is coming from Ian. The villain asks who exactly Ian is. Ian feels a little sorry for him. The pitiful last Dragonian. His entire race is no more and he has been left all alone. Mitchell Greenriver gave him the most painful punishment possible by sealing him away in the middle of nowhere. Hatred, anger, sadness, and the overall powerlessness of not being able to do anything. Ian is impressed that the villain was able to survive all of that humiliation. This gets under Evantus's skin and he yells out for Ian to shut up. He's going to end his life right now for saying such things. The villain charges forward in a blur of darkness. However, a bright light appears around Ian. He tells Evantus that he is going to send him to be with the rest of his comrades in the afterlife. Evantus is stopped in his tracks. He spent so long searching for the gold dragon and its power, little did he know it would be his downfall. Ian slowly raises his hand as the energy around him grows stronger. He orders Evantus, the last descendant of the Dragonians, to self-delete. With no self-control, Evantus pierces his chest with something sharp, right through the heart. His last breaths leave his body and he asks one final question to Ian. How does he have that power? Our protagonist just watches his final moments, looking down at the villain who falls to his knees. Ian remembers the first ever time he met Ragnar in his previous life. He was heading to his room alongside the Tower Master at the time, Herbert. Herbert was telling Ian how honored he should be, and instructing him to be careful of his words and behavior. He was about to meet the future emperor after all. The two of them entered and approached Ragnar, who welcomed them. He heard a lot about Ian's talents as a magician. He had also heard that Ian's mother passed away not long ago from an illness. Ragnar's mother had also passed away, so he understood how Ian was feeling. This whole time Ian remained with his head lowered to show respect. That's when Ragnar told him to raise his head. He didn't want Ian to treat him as a prince, but as a fellow human being. This was the start of their friendship. Now, many years later in a completely new life, it's just Ragnar and Ian standing amongst the old ivory tower ruins. Ragnar falls to his knees. He's not going to beg for his life and tells Ian to just kill him. He'd rather die here than be publicly executed at the capital. Ian is silent and looks at his former friend who is so willingly giving up. Ragnar wonders why he is looking at him like that. He doesn't want Ian's pity. He yells out that he should have killed someone like Ian from the start. He is nothing but a monster. Our protagonist seems upset by those words. Even in this life, Ragnar wants to kill him out of fear. There is something Ian wants to show the prince in his last moments. He approaches Ragnar and touches him on the head, showing him various memories from Ian's past life. When the two first met that day, to Ian being loyal to him for years. Together they plotted against Prince Haydn so that Ragnar could have the throne. And when he did eventually become emperor, Ian used his powers to win many wars and take many lives. This helped Ragnar create peace between the three empires. The two of them were like brothers conquering the world together, up until the day that Ian wanted to leave, feeling like a monster for what he had done. This ultimately led to Ragnar poisoning him in the cabin. Then Ragnar's final words to his longtime friend, "Please don't forgive me." After seeing these memories in the present, Ragnar is baffled. He has lived this whole life that he had no idea about. He looks at the ground for a moment, replaying all those memories again and again, until he looks up at Ian like an old friend. He understands everything now. "Ian Page, you are." Before he can finish his sentence, Ian puts an end to his life by slashing at his neck with an ice crystal. Ragnar's lifeless body falls to the floor and the old ivory tower ruins are stained with his blood. This is the end of their relationship, and the end of Ian's quest for revenge in this new life. The snow continues to fall to the ground and a whistling wind passes by. Ian thinks about what he is going to do with his new life now. Some time passes. After Avantis and Prince Ragnar died, a large-scale purge was executed on the Dragon's Order and all those related to it. The execution started with the Night Damsel, and continued with all the nobles that helped Prince Ragnar use black magic. Thanks to Princess Harry's devoted care to the Emperor, he was able to recover quickly. When he heard about Ragnar's death, he was deeply saddened by it. The Vice Captain Paul, who tried to assassinate the Emperor, was found to be under the influence of black magic and innocent. His grave was treated with respect and he was laid to rest with the rest of the Imperial Knights. The rebellion of Prince Ragnar and his use of forbidden black magic was recorded as an uncommon but dire crime in the Empire's history. As for Avantis, all records of him were sealed away under Imperial orders. His existence is a complete secret to the rest of the world. As time passed, the death of Ragnar was slowly and quietly forgotten by the world. And with that, Ian's revenge, and the journey of rebellion that felt like an eternity, has ended. A while later, Princess Harry is sitting on a chair in the Imperial Palace wearing black clothing. Ian approaches also wearing black clothing, asking if she is nervous. The princess admits that she is nervous, but she doesn't regret her decision. She no longer wants to hide her magical powers and instead wants to use them to help people. Lowering himself, Ian tells the princess not to worry. All will turn out well. They head inside a courtroom filled with very highly ranked people. They are here to decide what they should do with Harry. She is on trial for illegally practicing and using magic without informing the ivory tower. Ian is sitting amongst the judges on this trial, but there is something he would like to say before it starts. He reveals that he cannot in good conscience be a judge on this trial, as he is connected to the charges Princess Harry is being faced with. The courtroom gasps, "What is he talking about?" Ian explains that he was one of the teachers that has been teaching her magic secretly. He found out about her powers 6 years ago when he was spying on her. He overlooked it because it made sense for her to want to hide it. Years later, Ian found himself preoccupied while investigating the Dragon Order, the organization that was deeply involved in black magic. Avantis' existence became an exceptionally huge threat. Since he was a high-ranking sorcerer, he had the power to turn the Empire into a sea of blood if he wanted to, so Ian needed to move carefully. There was a limit to how much he could have done alone though, and there were very few people in the palace he could trust. And so Ian turned to Harry for help. In exchange, he offered to teach her magic in private. The only reason he was able to be freed from the black magic he was infected with is because of the princess. If not for her, who knows what state the Empire would be in right now. The judges speak to Harry directly, asking her if what Ian is saying is the truth, giving her the chance to speak and say anything that is on her mind. Harry nervously looks to the ground and says it is the truth. She turns to look at her original teacher, the magician Kevin, on the other side of the room. And then she looks to Ian, who has a smile on his face, encouraging the princess to be confident. She speaks up. She is a criminal that broke the laws of the Empire and is prepared to receive any punishment that is coming her way. She doesn't want any special treatment for being a member of the Imperial family. She insists that Kevin and the maids who all knew of her abilities are innocent. They were simply following her orders with no choice because she is their princess. She asks the judges to place the punishment solely on her. She is the one that is guilty and should be blamed. Suddenly a voice calls out from the back of the room, saying that the prince is not guilty. Everyone turns to look in shock. It's the emperor, who is back to full health and wearing his uniform. No one was expecting him to be here today. He jokes, it seems like it is not time for him to die just yet. The Emperor Terry begins addressing the judges. His daughter is not guilty. She was simply following his orders. When he first learned of her magical abilities, he ordered her and the magician Kevin to keep it a secret. He wanted his daughter to live as royalty and not a magician. Therefore this is all his fault. Terry tells the judges to put all the crimes on him and let Harry go free and have a chance at becoming a real magician. The judges stare at each other, coming up with a decision. Usually they would discuss their decision with the Ivory Tower Master, but seeing as Ian is involved in the case, Ronan volunteers to announce the princess's punishment. He acknowledges that Harry has a lot of good reasons for wanting to hide her powers. First of all, the former Tower Master Herbert turned out to be corrupt and the right-hand man of Ragnar. Second of all, she hasn't gained much benefit by practicing magic secretly, so it's clear she had no ill intentions. Lastly, for Harry to have reached 4th class all while learning in a restricted environment is impressive. It's obvious that she has a talent for magic that is hard to find. Due to all of this, Ronan announces that the princess's punishment will be postponed for 5 years. Over the next 5 years, she will become a part of the Ivory Tower and train properly. She will be dispatched on many missions that occur within the Empire and will receive private lessons. Her performance within the Ivory Tower over the next 5 years will decide how severely she will be punished. As of this moment, Ronan declares that Harry will no longer be the Empire's princess, but instead will be a magician of the Ivory Tower. Sometime after the trial, Ian is standing staring at a brown box on a table. He is met by Harry, who is now a magician in the Ivory Tower. He asks how she is enjoying her new life. Everyone was a little distant at first due to her royalty status, but people have started to warm up to her now. Harry thanks Ian for always being there for her and sticking up for her in court. Thanks to him, she is able to live her dream life as a magician. She recently heard that Ian is planning on stepping down as the Ivory Tower Master. She wants to know if it is because of her. Our protagonist assures her it's not. He just has things that he needs to attend to, but he can't do them if he stays at the Ivory Tower. He opens the brown box by his side. He actually wanted to gift the contents inside to Harry before leaving. It's Mitchell Greenriver's robe that Ian received from the Emperor a while ago. The robe was supposed to be passed down to the next magician in the Imperial family. Ian was just borrowing it. It's time that it is returned to its rightful owner. Ian also wants to give Harry the staff he used to use, the Staff of the Great Plains. It's made from a very rare material that can't be found within the Empire. It also improves proficiency using mana and is surprisingly light. Ian asks if she likes these gifts. Of course she does, they're amazing. There is one more favor Ian would like to ask of her before leaving. He doesn't know how long he will be gone for. It may even be a few years. While he is gone, he asks that Harry help to look after his family to make sure they are safe here. Harry doesn't like the fact that he is leaving. Where is he going? Ian can't tell her that right now because he doesn't even know the answer himself. There are still a lot of dangers lurking in the world and he wants to find and resolve them. Harry's life has been going great. With the power she has, she is going to help people who are having a hard time. She is also going to support her brother Hayden when he ascends the throne. With all of this, Harry had hoped that Ian would stay by her side. She begs him not to leave the capital. Ian apologizes though, it is just something that he has to do. Later, when Prince Hayden finds out Ian is leaving, he isn't happy either. Not only is he stepping down as the Tower Master, but he is also just taking off. It hasn't even been that long since the Empire was in complete shambles. On top of this, his sister Harry has been crying non-stop this whole time. He asks if Ian dumped her or something. It's embarrassing for him to say this, but Harry is really cool and amazing. She has a good personality like her mother, and it turns out she is also a high-ranking magician that is very capable. There's no way Ian will ever meet anyone as good as her. Ian admits this is true. She is a very cool and lovely individual, which is why he hopes she will meet someone who's better than him and live a happy life. There is actually something Ian wanted to say to the prince and the Sword Lord before he left. When Ian was inside of the vice captain's Paul's head, his last words was to tell Prince Haydn and Captain Oliver that he's sorry and he thanks them. Ian lowers his head. These were the last words of Paul. Haydn expresses his gratitude towards Ian. He has helped him come so far. If it wasn't for Ian, he would still just be a useless prince with an inferiority complex. He vows to always work hard so that he can become a great emperor in the future. That way he won't embarrass those who have believed in him all this time, including Paul. When Ian is done with his travels, Haydn asks that he returns to the Empire to help out if he can. There is something that Haydn wants to do before he leaves. He takes a sword out of Oliver's hand and pulls it from its sheath. He's practiced really hard for this day and would like to offer Ian an eternal guest pact. This is his gift to Ian, his friend, his teacher, and his benefactor. The Imperial family will always welcome the visit of high-ranking magician Ian Page. If he ever needs the help of the Imperial family or Empire, we promise that we will stand by his side. This will continue through the descendants of both families. I swear upon the stream of the Emerald River that's in the center. Haydn saw a lord doing this when he was younger and thought it was pretty cool. He's always wanted to try it. Ian can leave and do what he needs to do. Haydn will wait patiently for his return. He thanks Ian for everything and the two hug. The sun sets on our protagonist's mansion as he prepares his affairs and gets ready to go. His mother enters the room and he is surprised to see her. She is not feeling well from traveling and so should be resting in her room. She doesn't look good. Her hands are all cold and her face is pale. Vanessa insists she is fine and falls into her son's arms. This worries Ian, who tells her to wait a while. He will get the alchemist Letio and a doctor to come here. Once again, Vanessa insists that she isn't sick. She just came to say goodbye to her son before he leaves. But now that she is here, she isn't able to say those words. When she returned to the capital, she heard all about what had happened between Ian and the black magic. She could barely breathe, wondering why her child had to go through something so tough. Her heart broke and she felt as if it was all her fault somehow. And when she was staying with Lord Marcus in the Mogrian territory, all she could do is worry. She was scared that she would never see her son again. She doesn't want to lose any more family like she lost her husband. Ian grabs a hold of his mother's hand to calm her down. She might not believe him, but he actually met his father. It's hard for him to explain the details, but when he met Fran, he told him that even if Ian can't see him, he's always there beside him. Ian used to hate his father for abandoning him. However, now he realizes that everything he has in this life is all due to the power his father left behind for him. Ian wants to try walking the path that his father did and honor his last wishes. Looking at his mother, Ian asks that she let him go and do this so he can grow and understand more. Vanessa begins to cry. She always saw her son as a child, but he really is all grown up now. Ian is going to be fine. He tells his mother not to worry as she isn't alone here. She now has a new family that loves her. Letio is a really nice person, someone that has been a father figure for Ian. And Douglas is someone who always brightens up the atmosphere. He's a smart, kind, and considerate child. Ian knows she will be happy, and he will definitely come back to her. Just outside the room, Letio and Douglas are both eavesdropping on the conversation. They are also crying at the fact that Ian is going. Our protagonist heads outside with all his things and prepares to mount his horse. Letio comes outside to say goodbye. He can't believe that Ian is only taking one horse with him. It reminds him of the first time they met when Ian had to ride a horse all the way back to the Mogrian territory in a hurry to go and meet Prince Haydn for the first time. He was so bad at riding horses back then. Ian doesn't need to worry about anything. Letio swears upon his life that he will protect Vanessa no matter what. That's when Douglas shows up with a gift. It's a mana elixir and a healing potion that he made. It's way better than any that can be bought on the market. If he needs any more, he can write a letter and Douglas can make as many potions as he needs. At the last minute, Vanessa rushes out in a pink dress carrying something large in her hands. It's a package filled with food that he should eat on his travels. There's a lot in there, so he should make sure to eat and stay healthy. He should also make sure to write back often as well. Ian is grateful for everyone's gifts and begins walking away with his horse after saying goodbye. Before turning the corner, he turns around to get one last look at everyone. This is a place that he can come back to anytime, his home. And the people who are waiting for him here, they are his family. He smiles as he leaves, knowing that no matter what, he will always have home to come back to. The story jumps ahead 8 years. It has been a long time since Ian has left and Douglas is writing him a letter about everything that has happened. It states, "Boss, are you doing well? It's already been 8 years since you left and a lot of things have happened since. I graduated as the top student in the Imperial Alchemy Academy, and I've created the cure for the incurable disease, which was what I've always wanted to do since I was young. I was recognized for that achievement and I am now an imperial alchemist. My father, who researched together with me, also received an offer to become an imperial alchemist, but he turned it down. He didn't want to be separated from mother. Both of them were awkward around each other at first, but they're now a happily married couple. The Emperor wasn't able to recover completely from the poison assassination incident 8 years ago, so Prince Haydn is now his proxy. Prince Haydn is now so competent that you don't see a single shadow of his old self. He even signed a peace negotiation between the 3 empires within the continent. Since then, trade has been flourishing, and the empire's economy and technology has improved greatly. Harry's 5 years are now over, and instead of being punished, she has been officially recognized as a high-ranking magician of the Ivory Tower. She has created a foundation that looks after the underprivileged and is really popular with the civilians. She's the most likely candidate to become the next Ivory Tower Master. We're all doing our best as we live our lives. And we miss you too. Boss, please come back quickly. We are waiting for you. T.S. Can I call you brother when we meet next time? Douglas finishes writing his letter and takes a big stretch, wondering where Ian could be right now. He is called by his father as today is a very important day, so Douglas rushes downstairs. He is shocked to see how beautiful his mother looks, and she is flattered by his compliment. They are all dressed fancy and the Emperor has sent a personal carriage and horse for them. They are even going to be sitting in the VIP area. It turns out today is the day of Prince Haydn's coronation. Oliver is at Paul's grave laying some flowers. It would have been great if he were alive to see this day too. Oliver tells him to rest in peace as he heads to the ceremony. Harry is also getting ready to go, wearing Mitchell's blue robe and carrying the staff of the Great Plains. Tons of people are gathered outside the palace on this important day, celebrating and having a good time. Inside the palace, the Emperor Terry is addressing everyone. This is a special day where he is going to be passing a great honor down to his son, Prince Haydn Greenriver. Originally, this should only happen after Terry has died, but after a lot of contemplation he has decided that it would be best if it happened now. The Empire will continue to advance and everyone's lives will flourish even more with a new Emperor. The doors to the throne room swing open as Terry asks the people of the Greenriver Empire to lay their eyes on their new Emperor. Haydn walks through the door in regal clothing, a white and black suit with a long red cape. He walks down the long red carpet and kneels in front of his father. Terry utters the words that every son wants to hear from their father. I'm proud of you. With his hand on heart, Haydn vows to try his best to not disappoint anyone, and hopefully to continue making his father proud. A servant appears next to Terry with the crown on a blue cushion. He grabs a hold of it and places it on his son's head. It's gold with a red top. It's also encrusted with various different jewels and gemstones. As of this moment forward, Prince Haydn Greenriver shall now be known as Emperor Haydn Greenriver, the new Emperor of the Greenriver Empire. The entire crowd bursts into applause. Long live His Majesty. Amongst the crowd is a figure in a brown cloak. His face is covered by his hood. This person uses magic to summon flower petals to rain from the sky, congratulating Haydn on ascending the throne. Haydn looks up at this guy, confuses of who it could be. That's when his baffled face turns to a happy one. The person is our protagonist Ian, and Haydn is happy that he was here to see this moment. The coronation continues, and when it is finished, everyone heads inside the banquet hall. Here Emperor Haydn gives Ian a big fat hug. He has missed him so much since he has been gone. Ian can see that Haydn is still the same after all these years. He congratulates him on his coronation. It doesn't take long for everyone else to come over. Vanessa, Letio, and Douglas squeeze our protagonist tightly. They missed him and can't believe he didn't contact them all these years. Ian missed them all too. His mother, Douglas, and his new father, Letio. What he left to do has been completed and all sorted out. He's here to stay. Haydn lets out a cough to get Ian's attention, and then gestures over to his right. At first Ian is confused, until he looks over and sees who it is. It's Harry. It has been a long time since the two of them last spoke. He hopes she is doing well. She is, and is also curious if Ian has been well himself. Ian explains how he has lived a very vagrant life, traveling everywhere. Everywhere he went, people mentioned Harry's name from the capital to the far remote borders. They talked about how she was a righteous person that was looking after commoners and orphans at the Ivory Tower. Harry shrugs off these compliments and awkwardly plays with her hands. It's really nothing all that great. The two of them quickly realize they have run out of small talk, and there is a brief moment of silence. It's too awkward for Harry to bear, so she leaves Ian, hoping that he will enjoy his time at the banquet. Ian just watches her walk away from him, not knowing what to say. That's when Haydn appears behind him, informing Ian that his sister isn't married yet. Various marriage proposals were made, but she rejected all of them, saying that she was waiting for someone. It's no mystery who this person she has been waiting for is. She isn't the only person that has been waiting for Ian. There are tons of things that need to be done starting from now. Haydn asks Ian to help him with some of them. Our protagonist is happy to do this. He awaits any orders that his new emperor has for him. After the banquet, Harry is at the ivory tower, looking at some flowers in the garden. She regrets not talking to Ian for a little bit longer earlier. She shouldn't have just left like that. Or perhaps she was right to leave, and Ian isn't interested in her. She pulls herself together. It hasn't been that long since he got back, so he is probably just busy. That's when Ian appears behind her, calling out her name. This causes her to jump in shock. Ian apologizes. It wasn't his intention to scare her. He just came to the ivory tower to say hello to the magicians, and they all told him that he could find Harry out here around this time. He comments on how beautiful the ivory tower garden has gotten since he left. There used to only be tons of weeds here. That's because when Harry became a magician here, she started to grow plants, thinking that it could become a place where magicians can rest peacefully. Ian thinks that is a great idea. He asks if she would show him around, and Harry jumps at the opportunity. The two walk through the garden and look at all of the flowers while talking. Ian talks about all the things he saw while on his travels. He was surprised that Randier's flower, which is rare in Green River, is actually quite common in the Coldwood Empire and is treated as a weed. There is also a lake in the Principality of Roe that is said to have a golden shine. However, when Ian visited, it just looked like a normal lake, until the moment that the sun started to set. Then the golden shine revealed itself. It was a beautiful scene that Ian will remember for life. Harry is happy that he had a great journey. All of those places sound great, and she would like to see them one day too. Ian stops and holds out his hand. If she wants to see those places, he will take her there, or anywhere she wants to go, if she'll hold on to his hand. He's been to everywhere in the world. The Golden Lake, Spirit Forest, Hot Desert, and Vast Sea. The first thing he would think of in all of those places was Harry. He'd wonder what she would say if she was there with him. Eventually, those thoughts turned into a certain desperation, and Ian realized what he was feeling. He did everything he had to do in the world, and the whole time all he could think about was Harry. Ian gets down on one knee with his hand still reaching out. He asks Harry to please become his lifelong partner. He wants to be by her side for the rest of their lives. Harry breaks down into tears. She has missed Ian and has waited for a really long time. Yes, she will gladly spend the rest of her life with him as long as he promises not to leave like that again. The two hold hands, and Ian prepares to live out the rest of his days in peace, helping Emperor Haydn with his imperial duties, and raising a family with his new wife Harry. Perhaps they will even have a daughter together named Johanna. The Empire is at peace, and Ian has corrected all the things that went wrong in his previous life. Thanks so much for